Welcome to the Savvy Dentist podcast with Dr. Jesse Green, the show where great dentistry meets great business. Listen in each week as we bring you an inspiring person who will share their story, ideas and business techniques to help you create a practice and a life you love. And now introducing your host, Dr. Jesse Green.
Hi everyone, it's Jesse Green here. Welcome back to SavvyDentist.com and to the Savvy Dentist podcast. It's great to have you here as always. Now, before we get into our conversation today, which is all about why the best are the best, I wanted to share a little note with you that if you happen to be a dental practice owner and you're looking to take your practice to the next level, whether that's to earn more, work less, or any of those things in between, then you might want to head across to the Savvy Dentist Facebook group. In the group, we have some training, some tips, some tactics and strategies to help you on your way to practice success. Now, to find the group, obviously you can search for it in Facebook, or you can head across to drjessegreen.com/Facebook and we'll see you there. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about why the best are the best because over the years, I've had the very good fortune to interview lots of high performers on the podcast, and I've also had the opportunity to meet lots of high performers through my own professional network, whether that's people such as Richard Branson, Vern Harnish, Nathan Chan, Dr. John DiMartini, and others. So I wanted to talk about some of the observations I've made about talking to those people, meeting those people, interviewing those people, or indeed reading about those people. And one of the things that I've noticed when the best of the best, they really do have a couple of behaviors that set them apart. And these behaviors become part of their DNA. They're the behaviors that they obsess over or they implement or exhibit very consistently through life. And these behaviors are what allows them to separate from the pack because they're focused and they're disciplined on where they're going and they execute these behaviors really, really consistently day in, day out. Now, the first of these behaviors, I'm going to go through about half a dozen or so of these behaviors in no particular order. The first of these behaviors is that the best of the best are really opportunity focused and they're constantly scanning the environment. They're looking for the opportunity. Now, I'm recording this particular podcast at the end of the coronavirus second wave in Victoria. And so Australia, whether you're listening to this in Australia or elsewhere, but at the other side of COVID, there will be opportunities. But those people who are opportunity focused will be scanning the environment to look for those opportunities. Rather than buying into the doom and gloom, they're always looking for the opportunity. And I'm fond of telling the story of two young boys who each were asked to go and clean stables. Now, the first young boy, got a bit grumpy, stomped off to the stables, grumbling the whole way through. And the second boy just ran off down to the stables, and in the stables there was a pile of muck, manure, and of course this kid's into it. He's going through it like no one's business. And when the owner of the stables comes down and says, what's going on? The kid says to him, well, there's so much manure here, there's got to be a pony in here somewhere. And I think that's absolutely true. In life, we can go through looking for the manure or we can go through looking for the opportunities. And certainly, I remember going through the global financial crisis and perhaps I was a little less attuned as I could have been. I did pick up the opportunities, but I picked them up a little bit later than I might otherwise have wanted to. But nonetheless, there will be opportunities that come off the back of COVID. And there'll be things that if the person who is looking is alert to these things, there'll be, great things to be done, opportunities to make money, opportunities to start new businesses, opportunities to, bring on some great team members, all sorts of things. So it's about being opportunity focused and looking where there might be some good to come out of the adversity. So the second thing I would say about behaviors of why the best are the best is the best performers have standards. So point number 2 is they have standards. And these standards are adhered to religiously. They're not almost there. They either hit it or they didn't. The ball was either in or it was out. It was black or it was white. It wasn't almost there, almost good enough. It was either at standard or not. And so they would work and work and work and do the extra work to achieve those standards consistently. Now, of course, if you happen to follow the cricket or the football or any other sport, you'll notice that the best of the best will spend time out on the field practicing when the others have gone. You see the goal kickers, standing there, lining up the ball from all sorts of places on the football ground, kicking it towards the goals. Various different conditions, different angles, different wind conditions, whatever it might be, practicing and practicing and practicing. And they're doing that so that they can achieve a standard of performance that meets their own standards. And the thing I would say about the best is they set standards over and above what everyone else sets for themselves. They're not satisfied to be mediocre. They're not satisfied to be 90%. They're satisfied with the best. I remember hearing a story about Johnny Wilkinson, the English rugby player, when he was practicing his goal kicking. And of course, all of us as Australians will remember that in 2003 he broke our heart with his goal kicking. But he was an incredible goal kicker. And his coach used to tell him, can you see the two posts? And he'd say, yes. Now pick a person in the crowd, in the 10th row. Now pick a crowd in a person in the 50th row. Now imagine that person is holding an ice cream and they're about to bite it. That's what you're aiming for, is the ice cream they're about to bite for the person in the 50th row. And he would fixate on that particular position and he'd kick the ball from all over the park. But he did that through practice, and his standard became hitting the ice cream, not just getting it through the posts. So that's exactly what I mean by standards. The third thing I really want to mention is a sense of urgency. The best of the best are urgent. They're not just kind of saying mañana. And of course, we do understand that it takes time to develop skills and to achieve mastery. That's fine. But it's not like they're sitting around watching television all night. They're not waiting for their goals to come to them. They're actively pursuing those goals with a sense of urgency, while at the same time allowing themselves to grow into that role. And so they're not just fritting time away. They're constantly trying to use that time for highest and best use. And the fourth thing, of course, is related to what we've spoken about earlier, is they do more. They go the extra mile. And, as the saying says, there's not a lot of traffic on the extra mile. And so, they're constantly doing those extra things, which ties in with the standards I mentioned earlier. Again, I was reading a book by Dennis Waitley about the psychology of winning, and he spoke about persistence. And anyone who knows me knows I'm a bit of a sucker for a Rocky movie. I do love Sylvester Stallone of the Rocky franchise, and I've seen all the movies. And one of the things, if you watch Rocky movies, you'll know that in many fights, he cops an absolute beating. And it's his ability to take that beating and to keep getting up. And so I think for all of us in life, we're all going to get hits. We're all going to get knocked down. We're all going to get a black eye or a blood nose. And, life is like that. No one's life is perfect, irrespective of what you might see on the social media feeds, of course. But everyone in their life has challenges. And it's the ability to work through those challenges. It's the ability to find the internal reserves to keep going, to keep pushing forward, even when it hurts, even when you don't want to, even when you feel like giving up. It's the ability to get up and to have another round. And I think that's a really important life lesson, is because so many people give up. It's like they're digging for gold and they're just about to find it, and then they quit. And there's that wonderful story about acres of diamond. And this is related to persistence in a sense. And it's about knowing where our value is in our own backyard. But we've got to be persistent to look for it. We've got to be, trying to find, the good. We've got to be able to take the blows and to get back up. And as I said, if you watch any Rocky movies, invariably somewhere in there, someone's copying a beating, but they seem to overcome it. And I think that's a human story that we all relate to. The next thing I would mention to you about why the best are the best is they're genuinely curious. They're really interested in learning. They're really interested in advancing their skills in the areas that matter to them. And I was watching a documentary about Bill Gates the other day, and everywhere he goes, he's taking 10 or 15 books in a bag with him because he's insanely curious. And I think for all of us, if we want to achieve a level of mastery and be the best in our field, we need to be curious, constantly learning, never done, never satisfied, but curious enough to keep exploring and keep asking the question, how can I do this better? What next? What don't I see? All those sorts of things are really going to help you remain sharp and keep you at the leading edge of your field. So if you want to be the best in any field, whether it's dentistry, whether it's sports, whether it's music or the arts or any field at all, the best are curious. They're always looking for new ways and they're never done. And finally, just what I'd like to say about the best of the best is they hang out with the best. And this is really interesting. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and we were talking about why the best hang out with the other best players. And the best are often outliers, but even outliers need places where they feel normal or accepted or part of the gang. And so if you want to be the best, then it pays to hang out with the best. And it means about curating your circle of influence. It means being very conscious about what you're trying to achieve in your life, having that clarity of purpose, that clarity of goal, and hanging out with the people that are going to help you or propel you to that particular destination. So that means, not engaging with people who are detractors, not hanging out with people who pull you down. Australia does, unfortunately, have a bit of a tall poppy syndrome in some cases. So we've got to make sure we're surrounding ourselves with people who want to support our goals. Even if they don't understand our goals, we want their support. And sometimes that can be hurtful because it may not come from the places we expect it to. Maybe we need to keep a little bit of distance between some of our friends or family so that we're not getting dragged into the mire of their negativity. It's about constantly associating with the 5 top people who are going to help you on that journey, because we are the average of the 5 people we hang around most. So if you want to progress further in your life, you need to hang out with the best. And there's a saying that your network equals your net worth, and I'd really encourage you to think about that. Your network is equal to your net worth. And I think that's really, really key. So who do you hang around with? Who's a little bit further along that journey than you? Follow the examples of the people you aspire to be like, whether it's in business, whether it's in sport, whether it's in the arts, whatever it is. Find the best person, follow them. Get to know who their influences are. Find out who they hang around with. Try and get yourself into those circles of influence as best you can, because I promise you that if you're hanging out with people that are slightly better than you, your game will elevate as well. You can't help but. And so it's about making sure you actively curate your circle of influence. So there you have it. There's some things about why the best are the best, why winners win in essence. And of course, that's come from interviewing lots of people. We've done over 250 or 60 episodes of the podcast now. We've spoken to some tremendous people, from all walks of life, all of them with something to share, all of them with something good that they're, doing in the world or something they're really great at. And these traits are common to every single one, whether they're the famous people like the Richard Bransons or the John DeMartinis, or whether they're just people going about their day-to-day business but doing it at a really high level. I'd encourage you to look for those examples of excellence and to find out what's making them tick. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Bye now.
Thank you for listening to the Savvy Dentist podcast with Dr. Jesse Green. For more free tools and resources, join the free Facebook group. Visit drjessegreen.com/Facebook. And for more episodes, visit drjessegreen.com/savvydentist.